Energy's coming down. Nothing's resurfacing. What else?
Nothing at all.
No physical complications to the energy. Uh, yeah, that's probably about it for now. I clicked live, but it's gonna take a minute or two.
Okay, okay. I'm like, whoa, no prep. 3 second.
That's
Okay.
how we do it. That's how we do it. Here, let
All
me
right.
fix the light. Ah, there we go. A little more light in here. White light. No, I don't like that light. Let me turn that off. I'll try it this way. You look great.
I may be a little too bright.
Mexico is treating you well, I can see.
Yes, it is. It's been beautiful being back home after 25 years
Yeah,
in a way. So,
very cool. Very cool. It's been a while since we talked.
yeah, it has
Did
been.
God, what is going on here? This is weird. Oh, it must be my camera. Anyway, no big deal. Whatever. So yeah, now did we do a show together? I can't remember. I know we did you came on the live with me and Morgan at one time.
Yeah. I came in with you two,
Yeah, and Tiny Maldonado.
and Tiny,
Yeah.
and that was how we met.
Yeah. And then we said we'd do a show, and it took me forever to get back to you. But
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine. I mean, I'm like, Todd, whenever you're
I had
whenever
to go
you're
through
free.
I had to go through 200 messages, over 200 actually. But I got them all. I got through.
Gosh.
I haven't heard back from like 60 of them, but no,
Wow.
I'll take that back. Yeah, I probably haven't heard back from like 30 to 40 of them, but yeah, I was just well, it gave me a chance to let everybody know, or to reiterate what the platform's about. And it's not a marketing platform, and there's
Right.
plenty of platforms for that. No judgment, just not what we're looking for. But yeah, and so some of them didn't write back. They're probably mad at me.
Well, that's good. Like you want the people that get you, that are in alignment, that are like,
Well, it's just a different flavor. There's a buffet out there, right?
yes.
And we just happen to focus on the raw and the real and the human transformation and
Yeah.
the real time intel. But sometimes you just I don't know. There just seems to be a more directness in the field of consciousness now. I get maybe that's telepathy coming on. So why not have our words match our thoughts now? And our intentions. But yeah, you look fantastic as usual. You still
Thank
look
you.
20. You still look 22. I think y'all both said like, well, how old do you think we are? And I think I want to say you said 32 or something.
Yeah.
But
34. We both
34.
of us, Tiny and I.
Y'all know, y'all both look like you're in your 20s. I'm like, wow, the young people are coming. Of course, y'all are both young compared to me. But yeah, so I'm excited to catch up with you.
Yes.
And because you were very open when you came on, and I actually really appreciated both of you that night because you both spoke from courage. I mean, it's not easy to be transparent, and I know we're all headed that way, and that's part of ripping the layers off. It seems like the transparency is part of it, and the telepathy is part of it. But yeah, what's been happening? What's going on? Well, let me ask you this: in Mexico, where are you at in Mexico?
So I'm in a state called San Luis
San
Potosi.
Luis. Yeah.
It's it's like 10 hours from the Laredo border.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it's straight down.
Okay. So, in terms of like the community that you're in, is it a lot of people? Is it a village? What is it?
So I'm in the capital,
Hmm.
and it's about 1 million.
Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
That's
It's
a
too
pretty good.
big. It's too big
Yeah.
for me. I mean, it's because I was in San Antonio, Texas, and it's about the same. It's about the same.
Yeah, San Antonio's about 1 million. I lived in San Antonio. I liked San Antonio.
Yeah.
The only time I didn't like it is when the cedar came out of the hill country.
Oh,
Oh, I can't handle the cedar, man. But yeah, I miss San Antonio. Morgan and I went through San Antonio in February and
oh, okay.
went down to the river walk. I went to my favorite
Oh.
place and had a homemade root beer. I think it's called Shiloh's. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't think we didn't stay very long. We were on the way to Corpus Christi. We got caught up in that freakish snowstorm or
I
winter storm.
heard.
God, that was crazy. 4 days in a hotel with no water. I mean, that was just crazy. That was insane. So, what's happening? What's going on with you? What's happening with you? How things going with you? You look like you're in good shape. You've been riding this thing out pretty smooth.
Yeah. So I can't believe how it's like it feels like I've been here a month, but it's about to be 6 months already.
Wow.
And so it's been intense in a good way. Like, it's all the inner child, wounded child work that I came to do here and family stuff. Because I left when I was 9. And so I'm like going back to childhood and just clearing a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, you're on the Ramdas program, right? I love that quote of his. He says, "If you think you're awake, and go spend some time with your family." Especially the Mexican families, man, right? I mean, it's like and I joke about it because, and I'm sure other ethnicities are the same. Don't get me wrong, but it's a very intrusive environment. Everybody's business is everybody's business. I remember as a kid, family come into our house and they wouldn't knock; they would just walk right in the door. Yeah, I don't know if yours ever did that. Or they're just walking the door, but that kind of sets the tone of the. But I make jokes about it, but I know as a soul, I implanted myself in the Mexican culture uh, for the for the challenges and for the strengths, and the strengths to me were family and work, and work hard, play hard too. By the way. That's part of you got to have a pachanga in your ascension, right? You got to have a pachanga frequency. But so what about the everybody knows what's the program that's being presented for the last year and a half in the world, but you never hear about it in Mexico. Is quarantines, masks, and all that stuff being pushed over there?
Yeah, it's right now, and I don't, they follow a red light,
Oh,
yellow
one of those
light,
stages, just
green
like
light.
Australia. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I actually don't even know what stage we're on, but it's still very mask. Mask is the biggest thing.
Oh, really?
Mask.
I just
Big
wondered.
store with big stores, it's like take temperature.
Yeah, take
Hand
temperature.
sanitizer. The temperature, hand sanitizer, and the mask.
Wow.
We're not in quarantine anymore, even though there's still quite a bit of people that are like they're self quarantine. I mean, that's kind of like how my family is right now. They're just self quarantine basically, which is a blessing actually, because everybody's like in their own little world, and I get to be in my own little world. So it's blessing.
Well, I was just curious because I'm a history buff, and of course, being from South Texas, and having ancestors come from Mexico, and and being such a uh, such a part of your childhood, talking to your grandparents and all that, and learning the history of your family. But one of the things that I always took away from Mexico is that it's a very independent people. Like, I mean, you think about it, it's sitting right next to the United States, and the United States being the I won't mince words, being the imperialistic type of country it is. You got Mexico right next door, and you can't F with Mexico. You know what I mean? You just can't. But that, and I look at like the UFO sightings. I've always felt like there was a strong UFO, or not UFO, but a strong ET presence supporting Mexico for some reason. There's just got to be a reason, because I mean, it's got tremendous resources, as much as any country in the world. And then, of course, such a what is it, 12 states. It's big, and the people just have had this history of being independent. It's an interesting place. So has it been a culture shock from a light worker standpoint, going from the United States to Mexico, other than the family reorientation, indoctrination, and initiations that you're going through?
Not really. Like when we left, my parents made sure that we would come back and visit family, like summers, Christmas. So like when I was in middle school and high school, I would spend all summer here.
Okay.
And so, that allowed me to keep in touch with like family, friends, language, culture, stuff like that. For the most part, I mean, some of it just didn't stick, but no, it's been pretty smooth transition. I would say, just in general, like, I was like excited because I was gonna be in my parents' house by myself,
Oh, you got the whole house to yourself?
I had the whole house to myself.
Oh, wow. See how the universe blesses you?
Seriously. I mean, seriously. I was hesitant when my higher self told me, because I was like, oh my gosh, what are my parents gonna say? Are they gonna let me? Are they gonna be okay? Especially with everything going on. They were like, sure, go right ahead, stay at the house.
So they're still in the States?
They're still in San Antonio.
Oh, cool. So you just said, I'm going to the house, and they said, go ahead.
Yeah, they were like, sure. Well,
so I met a lady down, and she came on a couple of times. I can't remember her name. She does good work. She's down in like the Harlingen, down in the Rio Grande Valley area. I've gotten over the years messages from people that live in my hometown in Corpus Christi a couple of times. That are all Mexican American. Of course, San Antonio and other parts of South Texas, and it's always been kind of intriguing to me to listen to what they had to say. Somebody that's awakening in that culture because of the strong influence the strong characteristics that culture has, such as, say, the Catholic Church, the family oriented stuff, such as the last kid doesn't leave until the last parent goes, and just some of that stuff. I mean, how's it been for you? Does your family know that you're an ET, or are they still in the dark?
Not
Do they think you're a curandera?
It's like they kind of sort of know, but they kind of let me. They have given me the space to evolve and just kind of be me, which I'm really, really grateful for. They're starting to become more open, and my mom has been the most open one. But even now, my dad has been like opening up to these conversations, and even though it's great, like he's listening. He's listening.
That's interesting.
But it's been really, it has been really fascinating with them. And also I feel that because we left the Mexican culture, and we've been in so it's been 25 years since we left. And I feel like not being here in Mexico with everything has assisted with like more independence and like being more open and more not I want to say, like you said, the family ties were loose because we weren't physically living here in Mexico. And I feel like that definitely has supported us a lot.
Yeah. And so then you go back 25 years later, and now you're an adult, a woman, and who's been lit, and you're, I guess, interacting to some degree or another with extended family and such. Has there been anything that stands out with the reacclimation with that environment?
So I've had, and I get it is part of the dissolving and uncording of like all the family ties that I have kind of chosen not to kind of keep to myself, and also like respect other people that are also self-quarantine and don't interact, because none of my family has seen each other.
Wow.
Like before. And it's interesting because my sister-in-law, my brother's wife, lives in Aguascalientes, which is I think like 3 or 4 hours away. And in that state or in that city, it's definitely more loose. Like people have come together more, like family reunions. Mm-hmm. But here it's taken a while to kind of get back to that. So
wow.
In my family, everyone's still separate, no one's seeing each other, maybe just over the phone.
Now, is that due to personal choices or to governmental mandates?
It's personal choice.
Yeah. So it's that would make sense to me. I mean, to me, I think about those types of restrictions being, let's say, forced upon the Mexican culture as I know it, which I'm not saying I'm an expert, but just understanding their makeup in terms of family. I can't imagine that they would be happy about it, but at the same time, if it wasn't forced on them, then I could see where they would quarantine themselves. Just, you know what I mean? Like I know that sounds kind of strange, but it seems like to be the type of frequency in that culture that if you try to tell them what they got to do, they're going to push back. So it's almost like you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's interesting. You mentioned your higher self told you that you'd be returning home, and it always I've always found it interesting. When people use those terms, I know Morgan gets very explicit verbal guidance from her higher self. Mine rarely speaks words. I really don't even always feel comfortable with that term. To me, it's my soul, and I guess maybe they are one and the same thing. But how do you? My interest has always been, how do you receive that information, knowing everybody gets it differently? Is it impressions? Is it images? Is it just a knowing, or do you actually hear words?
So, well, it's interesting because in this particular this particular message, like I've always known that, like I've always had that pull of like I want to go back, and for some reason or other, it never happened. Last December, when my partner and I were splitting, when I had tuned in and say, okay, we're honoring the fact that we're gonna go our separate ways. Where do I go now? And so at first it was like, do I just like cross the border? Because we were in Arizona at the time, and the border was like maybe an hour away. So like, do I just cross the border in Arizona? And they're like, and the image was more visual of like, no, you're coming here back to the state. So it was more visual when I had asked, okay, what do I do? Where do I go now? And then the image just like, I got the image of a map, and I got the image of my state. So I was like, oh, and then it all came back to me like, oh, I've always wanted to go back. So this is it. But it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I have also been, it's like for the past maybe month or so, it's been, the communication has definitely changed, or it's like evolving and like changing, and with the communication, the higher self communication, I feel like it's more of a, like it comes from inside, and it's just a knowing, and you just like, okay, this is what's next. Okay, this is what I gotta do. Instead of before, it's like, okay, let's sit, let's meditate, let's get really clear, let's like, ask the question. It's been less like that for me. And it's
Yeah.
been more of a knowing. I feel like it's the embodiment
Yeah.
aspect.
Yeah. Like the voice, like some people talk about how the transmissions are coming through more of a singular universal voice when it used to be several different aspects. And again, everybody's different. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I just like to hear, how people experience things. How about the physical body? I'm sure your ride here in 2021 has been really easy, and you've had no
Oh
any
yeah.
any ramifications as a result of the energy coming in. How's that been? How's
Woo!
that been treating you though? How's the body going?
It's been intense. And I feel, I mean, honestly, it's like, I think we're all feeling it in a lot of ways, whether you're, with family, by yourself. It's like
Yeah,
hitting very physical. And it's been very physical for me as well. I don't know. I guess since, I want to say the whole year, probably.
yeah,
The whole
yeah. I
year.
think I noticed it started first of 2020, even before COVID.
Well,
I noticed.
true.
Yeah,
True.
for me, I mean, but it's really seemed to pick up in the last 2 or 3 months, and even the last few weeks. A lot of people have been talking about the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Yes.
Just everything from like I had last week. Just severe complications. And of course, everybody knows Franco's going through it now. But Morgan put up a couple of posts, and reading some of those comments was just fascinating. The level of impact on the physical body just absolutely can't be denied. Which I guess on one hand we can joke about how uncomfortable that is, and try to make light of it to make it a little easier. But on the other hand, it tells me that there's some serious transformation occurring in the human body. Does that resonate with you in your experience?
Yes. Yes. It's like the body is just like, bring it on. I'm ready. Let's just push everything out.
Yeah.
But let's just push it, like just clear, dissolve everything that's just too heavy, too dense, no longer resonates. And I feel like it's also prepping us for the because the grids are inside the body. It's like the more that we dissolve, the more 3D we dissolve inside the body, the less affected we will be from the physical collapse.
Yeah. There's another part of it too, which to me has been more prominent this year, and that is well, I guess it would be like a description that's multifaceted, because of the fact that people experience things differently. But it would be like, say, glitches in the matrix, drastically increased synchronicities, a sequential aspect to the way the days unfold and the messages you receive and how everything's related, dimensional experiences, lucid dreams, telepathy. There seems to be more and more of that happening, as the days go by, and really in an exponential sense. Are you finding anything like that happening?
Yes, there's definitely the lucid dreaming, the synchronicities, the like instant manifestation, materialization in some aspects that, it's very accelerated. Everything's just like
Mm-hmm.
fast,
Yeah.
fast, fast, faster.
Yeah. That instant, we always heard instant manifestation. And then sometime this year, it's my feeling was, and what I picked up from other people, but my own feeling was, we're not manifesting anymore. We're creating, right? Like but there's this thing about the term instant manifestation. I used to think meant one thing. Like, I think of a red Corvette, and 6 months later I got a red Corvette, but now instant manifestation would mean it would appear almost immediately.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm starting to get that what that really is, and that is like instant communication, instant reciprocation would be a better word. Instant karma would be another word. But like we think of something and there it is. Kind of like you get a download. Oh, I'm going to go to my hometown, and somewhere shortly after, your parents say, "Oh, you can just take the house." You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Things like that. It just seems like things are becoming more instantaneous, I guess. And to me, I always had kind of restricted it to what I thought was manifestation, but I guess it's some kind of a hybrid of manifestation and creation. But it's information, it's coding, it's the way things come to you when you need it. I mean, it's just like everything else, a different definition, I guess, and an expansion of what it once meant. I was going to ask you something about something. I can't remember now. Oh, well, yeah. And this whole thing about the solitude, the isolation, like, and what you're talking about with the way the changes are and how it affects us. I think one of the reasons maybe that we're so isolated is so we won't project on each other. So it keeps the projections to a minimum, right?
That's true. It's like, well, it's interesting because now it's like I can deal with my own shit. I don't need anybody else.
Right.
To project it or to let me know or to like create an experience with them. Like, let me just be responsible for my stuff. Without having somebody else.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is true of like the projection or like keeping the loops and the ties and everything. It is part of like clearing all the cords and ties and expectations and
a
whole bunch of stuff that comes with relationships and with dealing with people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird because your points of context are leaving. Like I can even look at Morgan and I, and there's just certain things that won't hold water anymore. I'm talking about like the previous types of interactions and just perspectives and it's not just like that type of relationship. I'm talking about in general, like you are, but it's like we have a different way of communication, different way of everything, right? A different language, a different whatever. We process different, and to me, there seems to have been a lot of adjustment for everybody, trying to get used to how this works.
Yes.
And you get a little freaky, and I don't know if you've had any momentary periods of madness, where you're just like, what the hell, like I'm gonna lose my mind. I tried to get out of here twice in the last 2 weeks. Like, just get me out. I'm done, But they last very short. They're like a momentary lapse of reality or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've experienced any of that, where you're just like perplexed or bewildered or kind of overwhelmed.
Yeah, there's definitely. I mean, it's been one of the most emotional experiences. But recently it's been this needing to move out the energy, whether it's like anger, frustration, confusion. And it's interesting because for the past I think well, I've been purging, by the way. Like the whole I'm like, I came here and I'm cleaning house. I like threw away a bunch of stuff and like just cleaning everything out. But lately it's been like, let's dismantle. This is like I said in the I did a little post. It's like, this is how you dismantle your 3D reality. Like just get something physical in your house that you can just destroy.
Wow.
And it's been really liberating. I found a couple of things that I'm like, they're old, I don't need them anymore. And I'm just like saw and hammer and just like
Jesus. The
very
radical,
physical.
the radical ascension.
Yes, where it's like we're
Radical.
dismantling and collapsing and destroying this. But it was actually really, really cool and liberating. And you know, I get to do it in my own space. I get to just let it out in my own home. I get to destroy, and it's cool because it's like when you destroy, now you have to create. Now you get the ability to create.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Clean the slate.
Yes.
Clean the slate. Yeah, that's I had one like that about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I did a little meme on it. You know how you get those memes on Facebook and they have your avatar, and there's that
Oh
one
yeah.
with the chalkboard with all the writing on it, like the equations
Oh, yeah.
and I thought, everything can be erased. Like the chalkboard represents the void or the womb or whatever you want to call it, and like it was like I try to make them funny, but they're really for me. They're always for me, and it was kind of like a reminder, Todd. Don't take yourself so seriously. You can, because whether you are impressed with yourself or you're beating yourself up, you can always just erase the chalkboard because it's going to be erased anyway, right? Kind of thing.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. So that's along the same lines of that.
You know, the funniest thing about that is that that is one of the things that I destroyed. It was a chalkboard. It was this old chalkboard that we used to have here that doesn't even write anymore. It's like useless. And that was actually one of the things that I just completely tore apart.
There you go. So how do you spend your day? Are you you're alone all the time? Is that right? And I guess like a lot of us, you're traveling through the highest physical manifestation of the ethers, which is the internet. Yeah, you know what I mean? I mean, connecting physically and non-physically with people through this medium. But how do you spend your days? Is it a lot of time online? Are you destroying stuff all day?
Tearing the whole house apart. No. So it's really been just honoring light, the light body, the body of like, okay, what do we have? What's highest aligned? What energy do we have? Do we have energy to do this? I've been resting a lot, just because of the process and all this stuff going on. It's like the body's just like completely out. But so here, coming here and being by myself has allowed me the opportunity to focus more on being of service, support, doing group sessions or doing private sessions, writing, doing videos, doing stuff like that.
You do videos. That's cool.
Yes.
So you do videos. You're a practitioner, and you also kind of lead groups in your own. Do you have a website or a Facebook page?
Yeah.
What's the name of it? I know it.
So the website is Awaken Your Soul Light.
Awaken Your Soul Light.
Yes.
Yeah. And you have the same name on the Facebook page, or you just use your regular page?
Just my regular name.
Yeah. Okay. Awakening Your Soul Light.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have like a specificity to the work you're doing, or is it just like a big, kind of like a toolbox of different things?
Pretty much. Right now I'm open to, assisting, guiding, if they, if people want to do energy, if people are interested in energy work, I can do that. Um, in any, like, any topic, any, like,
Yeah, I
any,
got you.
like, awakening to ascension to,
Yeah, I got you.
physical.
Have your parents visited your website?
My yes. My dad, so he's the only one on Facebook, and he's really cute. Earlier, when I started being more, um, when I started to post a little more,
Uh-huh.
he notices, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you posted something, and you had all these people comment." And then I think I sent him to my website or something.
Uh-huh.
And then, so they know, they've seen it. They're like, they know I have a website. They don't know they don't know everything that I do, and everything that I post, but they are aware
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of horizontal time this year's, it's
Yes.
literally, there really is.
Yes. Oh,
I think
yeah.
I think it's been going on a while though, because I think people have begun to accept it. We used to have that little thing, oh, I need to be doing something, and that seems to not be seen from such a judgmental place or self-judgmental place, as well as when things don't align and they don't work out. Like maybe we schedule a show and you can't get on, and like, in other words, there's almost like this sign of, hey, this isn't going to happen right now. And it used to be a little bit of a challenge for us, I think, but now I think we're starting to respect the signs that come, right, without taking things personal with somebody because it's got nothing to do with them. You know what I mean?
I feel you too. I feel more people are just, they're like getting the hint of, like, if there's no use in me pushing or
Yeah.
like forcing myself. It's like
Yeah.
the body, when the body says go down, then you just,
Yeah. You better believe it, and you better move quick too, because sometimes I've had a couple of 3 or 4 scenarios where I had to crawl, because it came so fast.
yeah.
You mentioned the light body, and there's been a lot of talk about the light body. I mean, there always was a lot of talk about we're converting from a carbon body to a crystalline body, and we're going to be a light body, whatever. But this year, particularly the last 3 or 4 months, there's been a lot more discussion about the actual, I know this probably isn't going to be perfectly said, but like the physicality or the physicalization or the merging or whatever you want to call it, but experiences and sensitivities to the light body as self, not as a something out here. Are you experiencing anything like that?
Yes. Well, and everything that is physically happening to the body, it's like it's activating the light, more light, activating more light inside the body.
Yeah.
And so recently, well, and I've had this experience come in and out where it's like the light body doesn't need a lot of food.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, perfectly good, go about my day. But it's definitely for me and for many people that are in the same phase where it's like you're fine. Like, you really don't need the physical
It's true.
supplementation in that sense.
It's true.
And so it's been really, I mean, it's been cool.
Unless you like to eat like a good
I
Mexican.
like, but it's so interesting because even I've noticed that even like before, I used to see something or smell something, and it's like, oh, it triggers your senses and it
Right.
makes you want to eat that. But that's also gone to where it's like, oh,
Yes.
I see people eat, or I see stuff, or I smell, and it's like, wow, there's
Or
just no
even the amount, I've noticed the amount that I eat, I can't, and I don't even go there. You know, it used to be like if like more of an addiction frequency we all might have, or they call it comfort food frequency, and you'll have a piece of pie and you're already full and you just eat the whole thing. Just you can't do that anymore. And
no.
another thing I noticed too, two things that you're bringing up. So I started juicing in June. So about 80-90% of what I take in is juice. And so I'm doing 4, 5, 600 ml glasses a day. And now I'm at, like, I can only do like 2, maybe 3. And then another thing I noticed is, like, especially in like the last 30 days, I had a couple of 2-day periods, you know, where I ate everything I could get my hands on.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm thinking, what is going on? And then after, you know, say a day or two after the binge, it's not in my body. I mean, it's just, obviously my body needed that for some reason or another, to either replace or to prepare for more transformation. Yeah.
I went through that too. Right before I was like, oh, I don't have a lot of appetite. I was like, I couldn't get full. I'm not full. What's going on? And I'm just eating and eating and eating. And then the food that I was guided to eat was not the norm that I used to eat. So I knew that, like, okay, my body's asking for this for a particular reason, and I don't judge anything anymore. Whatever the body wants to eat, that's what it.
Yeah.
That's what I eat, and just, it's not. It's very very, I'm gonna say picky, but it's like, I know that it's just for that moment, and then I don't get that calling to eat that again. So
yeah, and sometimes you get the urge. Like, I got the urge last night. I haven't had a donut, and I don't even crave. I mean, I used to when I was a kid, but I haven't had a donut in, I don't even know how long.
Yeah.
I'm talking to Morgan like at 3 a.m, and she had a friend of hers wanted to talk to her, and I was going to be up a while. I said, well, we'll hook up later. And because I said, I'm hungry. I want something sweet. So I was like, because the place up the road's open 24 hours, and I'm like, I'm going to go get one of those donuts. But by the time I went up there, I didn't want to eat a donut. And I ended up getting a salty bag of chips.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and I didn't finish the chips. It just, it's just, it's weird. It's just weird. Like, but it's all weird. Everything's weird.
It is, Todd, and I'm glad you said that. But it's very fast. Like, the cravings or the things that the body needs is like in that moment. And then the next, 20, 30 minutes, it might be completely different. And I've had that too, where it's like, oh, and I've been eating a lot of sweets, like a lot of honey and like bananas for a while. But then it's like the salt.
Now I'm laughing.
It's all over the place.
I'm laughing because I don't really, I just haven't eaten bananas for a long time. And I went to the organic place I get the fruit and vegetables, and they had fresh organic, and they were green. They weren't like the type that were going to go bad. So I must have bought 8 of them because they were batches. But I had this craving. In fact, I asked Morgan last night, like, what can I put on? What can I put on the banana, or banana or strawberries or both, that's not sugar? Because I got organic honey, and that's what I ended up doing, like covering the banana in honey. But it's funny how this stuff is all happening. Yeah, there was another thing too. We were just talking about it. I can't remember what it was now.
The
Hmm.
salt, the potato chips.
No, it was about the way things are with the eating. Oh, I know what it was. So I started to notice, like I was telling her last night, I said, I don't know what's going on, but I'm craving cereal. Like I haven't eaten cereal in ages, and I don't do good with milk or dairy. I'm not eating any cheese, even though I like cheese. But uh, I'm thinking, man, I'd like to have a bowl of cereal.
Oh my gosh, Todd! I had the same.
And
I
I'm
had
just
the
like
same
going,
thing.
but what I was gonna, the reason I brought it up is because I didn't quite get the full communication, but
Mm,
my body was telling me fiber, I guess would be one way to put it, or maybe it's deeper than that because the cereal I was craving would be more like, I don't even know what you call it, but like the healthy cereal with the nuts and the
mhm, mhm.
granola, that type of stuff, right?
Okay, okay.
So to me, I was like, it wasn't about eating the cereal. It was about, and again, I don't have a full understanding, but I was kind of getting, this is what you're craving is
Mhm, mhm.
this, whatever's in that, whatever nutrients or whatever
Right, right, right.
purpose or whatever role it can play. I don't
Mhm,
know. I don't know anything.
mhm. Well, for me, when the cereal came through, it was part of my inner child work,
Hmm.
and so it's like I had to get my favorite cereal so that I
Oh,
can, bring that child back and like be back in that kind of cereal, child cereal kind of energy.
yeah.
And I enjoyed it. I mean, I like you said, I have that's not in my diet, and it hasn't been in my diet for a long time. But I got here, and everything's like, oh, you're bringing back your childhood foods and cartoons and all this stuff.
Yeah,
So
cartoons. Cartoons are the best.
they are.
There's been some stuff going on the last couple of weeks too, that looks, well. I mean, I guess it could be explained in a lot of ways. Full union, um, frequencies, a full union of feminine, masculine. Some of the byproducts of it being the last lines of original traumas that were the separation. You talked about the inner child and such, and I know you do the work on yourself. Have you had recently any kind of original traumas, original wounds come up? Uh, that have been, like that would move you significantly towards kind of a unity consciousness or further oneness or merging of the masculine feminine.
Yeah, I actually had all last week was almost it was so intense that it's at some there were a lot of levels to it, but it was like deep. When you said original something.
Original trauma, like a
Original
original
trauma.
wound, original wound.
What came through was like almost the separation from source,
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
and
Yeah.
and that stemmed into like, separation from the womb,
Oh, okay.
separation from when I left the country,
Mm.
separation of like when my sister left. All of these separation stuff came through, but it almost like the deep core ones was like, oh my god, this feels like separation from source, from home, from who I am, and it was just like it
So like
was.
like seminal moments of separation, like the,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yes.
And how did you deal with that, or did you have to? Was it just the awareness? Through the awareness, were you able to neutralize it or clear it, or did you have to go through a process?
So for me, it was something happened in my reality where I almost got forced to go back to San Antonio, and that opened up this whole thread for me. It started out just very emotional. Like I was just like crying and just like, oh my God, what's going on? Why do I have to leave all of these things? And for me, it's been the physical clearing of like the crying, and this time it was even more, I want to say like deeper, because it was like my throat had to like I had to be very vocal when I was crying too, and I'm usually not. So that, the whole clearing of the throat and like the yelling and like all of these things that came through from the emotional purging were very significant and very important. And it was, I will say that it was probably 2-3 days where it was just like on and off, just constantly feeling, clearing, recognizing.
This is recent? Is it?
Yeah, this was last week.
Yeah, this is the period I'm talking about too. Yeah, this
was last week too, and yeah, I feel like a lot of us are in that same.
Yeah, and as I'm sitting here today talking to you and thinking about it, and we were talking about the body. It's almost like I want to say it is the body. It is the body, and it's either going to come out through physical purging, emotional purging, mental purging, but like that, it's because it's really, really deep stuff. I mean, it's like,
Yes.
And so if you try to look at it, if I look at myself, for instance, because when you were talking about the, the crying and the screaming, I went through a period. I know my neighbor must think I was possessed or something. It wasn't even controllable. It was, I was laying in bed and it just came out. I mean, it really sounded like kind of like an angry orgasm or something. It was just like this, but it was very, very deep. And what I was going to say is, as I looked at myself, in retrospect, I would be like, God, you're a fucking weirdo. Like that's not normal. You might need to go. But then as I've talked to more people and taken more in and had more time to integrate, you go, well, this is what I'm talking about. Like the path to get to what is our natural state, which is totally different methods of communication because it involves telepathy, total different level of trust and confidence in our own knowing, not the second guessing and the doubting. So to look at what the body's going through in all its parts, what I'm saying is I feel like there's a little bit more clarity there and less judgment in whatever the episode might be, right? That's all I was getting at.
Yeah, because it's not, I had not, and mind you, like, it's funny because every time it's like, oh, this was intense. Well, this one topped it all.
Yeah, that's forget that. If the last one wasn't the most intense, then all I can say is I don't know much, but I would bet my money that you missed something because like this last last 2 weeks, nothing. I mean, even as intense as September was, the summer was like June and July, everybody was purging. But I could take all of 2021. Hell, I could take all of my life and the last 2 weeks from an energetic standpoint. None of it compares. I mean, even if you combined it all up against the last 2 weeks, nothing compares. And that's not a statement that's just reflecting on the grind of it. It's reflecting on the expansion of it. And because I know sitting here that I haven't even begun to understand what the expansion of the last 2 weeks is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things that you had mentioned that kind of triggered, it's like now it's the because for me, I did the energetic purging like that's how I started. You know, when I started to do the energy, and then it was like the energy clearing, and then I went into the intuitive aspect of it. Like it was all energetic, and I didn't realize that now it's like, okay, now you got to go physical with it. Now it's like emotional and physically like getting it out, because now you're going into like muscles and cells and like deep cellular clearing out, which is it's very physical. So it's like, it doesn't matter what your body is telling you to do, you just surrender and like just go all in.
Yeah. And this is, and again, I'm trying to like paint a picture that is wordless, or that is a wordless frequency, or you know what I mean? But I see a pattern, and that pattern is what we're stepping into is so different than what we've been, and it's happening so rapidly that it's a little bit, it knocks you off. The getting there is one thing, the grind of it, like I got sick last week, and all the things that happened with that. But what happens when you're on the other side? There's this permeation of the, you're that much closer to the natural environment that we are within ourselves, and that which will be around us or is around us. And it's just a little bit weird trying to get used to it. That's all I'm saying. It's weird that the same butterfly comes over here at the exact, level of frequency, or when a certain level of alignment happens on a show, and it used to be, oh, there's a butterfly. Now it's like, okay, there's something going on here, but it's not a verbal message. It's just more of like, and it's not even just a synchronicity or a sign. It's bigger than that.
Yeah.
It's bigger than that. And so these are the things that I find interesting and I find intriguing. Like, and of course, then it's just get out of the way and you don't need to know. Just go be yourself, kind of thing.
The knowing will come. And that's one of the things that I'm like, you know what? I don't even need to know. When I'm in that emotional purging, like stuff comes up. I get, visuals or images or like messages, but it's like, I don't need to know everything in that moment. Like, I don't need to know. It's
well,
like,
we don't even have a choice.
I just want to feel it in my body and just like.
Like, we don't even have a choice we want to know it because it comes in and just takes over.
True. It's like, nope, you have no time to think.
You don't even have a choice. It's not even and that's what I mean. So that's another example of what I'm trying to paint a picture of, which is you don't understand what's happening at the time. So as we go through this, we start to accept that. So then there's less reactivity.
Yes.
There's which not just with ourselves, but with those we interact with. So, it comes in and you're like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? And that's kind of going away, because when you start going, what's going on, then we're engaging that part of us that's leaving us, that's not natural, that has to know what's going on and has to explain everything, right? You know what I mean? So I don't have the answers. I'm just saying, for me, this is what it feels like. It feels like this whole allowance and acceptance thing doesn't just apply to people or to energy coming. It applies to everything.
Oh yeah.
It's part of the being, and of course we just feel our way, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I'm at the point where I'm like, I just want to feel. If the information comes, great. But if not, I want to just tune into the frequency that's out of alignment, the heaviness, anything that I feel in the body, and allowing the body to just, work with me. The body just clears and releases and just kind of brings everything back into
Yeah.
balance without needing to figure it out and like, you know, the head and like, what do I do next? It's like, no, just
Yeah. And the list, I think another way to say it too, because none of them, to me anyway, for me, none of them, nothing I can say or someone can say can pinpoint it, because it's a wordless type of thing. It's just not something that. But I think a big part of it is what you said about the feeling / listening, and these are energetic words with energetic definitions. It doesn't mean just feeling, you know, on your skin or listening with your ears. But like as an example, when I got sick, I couldn't drink coffee. I was being shown a lot about the acidity of coffee and the acidity in my stomach, and just a lot of intel from the body was coming in. So once I got clear, the first day came, you know, it was a few days after, and I'm going to have a cup of coffee. But I knew immediately, instead of having a full cup, you're going to have a half cup. And it wasn't like a discipline and like a, you know, like a approach you might take with a diet where you, oh, I got to do this. It wasn't like that. And so it just has happened naturally. And so, like, as an example, I had a half a cup earlier today because I had 2 shows, and it was just in the natural, you know, part of the, as I was going through everything. And then I thought, well, I got 2 more shows and I'm a little bit tired. Not really, but I'm just like, I could use a little boost.
right.
And so I thought I'll pour a half a cup, because I haven't had more than this amount in an entire 24-hour period since this happened. But it's been a natural thing. So I sit down, I start the show with you, and my body starts to go into, you know, that nervous system communication or whatever that is, right? And I just knew through after 3 or 4 or 5 minutes of it, oh, I'm not going to be drinking this, right? That's what I'm talking about. It's like this whole new, and then to have confidence in that and apply it. Where in the past, I can only speak for myself, but I think in general, we did the same thing. You know, we would get intel in and then we would doubt, and not apply it to the degree we might today, you know, something like that.
Yes. It's almost like for me, what you're saying is like, you're becoming, you're acting and behaving more like aligned with what the soul needs, basically.
Yeah. You mentioned the light body. I think that's part of it too. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what it is. I guess it's the soul. I don't know. But it's also, it feels like that it's easier, and there's a lot of things that go with it, right? Like less judgment of self and others,
Yes.
quick forgiveness, you know, things don't linger. What's real stays with you, and what's not doesn't, you know, and this
Yes.
can be programs, this can be habits, it can be a lot of things.
Yes.
So this is what I'm trying to like delve into. Again, I realize that a big part of that is, oh, I got to know what's happening. But, um, but it's, yeah, it's that spirit science thing. And I just, yeah, I just find it interesting.
Well, and
to
it's
talk.
easy. It's easier to make, like you said, the decisions, and there's no
Yeah.
doubt. There's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
we just know the body does, and it's like becoming a whole new person, which we
Yeah.
are.
True. That's true.
We're rebirthing, and we're just
Yeah.
completely coming.
That's true. Yeah. It makes me wonder what we'll be capable of. Like, I keep talking about teleporting, and I mean, I'm dead serious. Like, why not?
Oh yeah.
You know, why not? And if the body's changing, you know, a lot of people talking about juicing now, and it's not like that vegan or vegetarian militant type of frequency. It's just like, hey, man, this is what's working. Or I'm not eating less, or I'm not eating, or I'm sleeping all the time, or I'm not sleeping at all. You know, it's just these things that at the higher level aware of and and really kind of in alignment with in that innate kind of way. But at
Yes.
the human level, that's the part that I find myself, kind of like gauging or identifying. Uh, oh, this is why it's happening. Oh, I'm not going to be in judgment of myself. Oh, I fucked up. Uh, maybe I projected, and then I see what happened and why, and I'm like, okay, I'm done with that. I forgive myself and
Yeah.
move on. Or that may not be the best example, but but yeah. So yeah, that's life, and that's good. It's good seeing you.
Oh yes,
Good
thank you
seeing
so
you.
much.
Yeah,
For
it's good seeing
catching
you. And
up.
you going back to Texas anytime soon for a visit or anything?
Yeah, I still have. Well, my family wants me to go for the holidays, but I might have to for other reasons as well.
Oh yeah,
So
I won't ask you about
thinking.
that. I won't ask you about that.
Well,
No, I'm kidding. Don't tell me. I'm messing with you.
it's
It's not
not.
it's none of my business.
Oh
Uh,
no, and it's it's one of those things where it's like, where am I coming from with this? Do I need to go back? Um, and I'm going through like, obligation and like, am I going back
yeah,
because I'm scared that if I don't, I may not get to resolve, my taxes,
this.
stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Well, don't worry about that. That's all gone. That's all gone.
Thank you, because I'm like,
Yeah, I just say F that. Don't follow my advice, but I've been doing it, and I
well,
just
no, it's funny because I'm like, dude, like there's a complete reconstruction with all that. So it's like,
it's yeah,
don't even like
yeah. And
put
this
your
is the
energy
and
in.
this is the part I find interesting. Again, it's just on a wider scale now. Like say that's a more collective scale that more people could, but even things like that. I mean, when I say the word taxes, in other words,
Mhm.
I now feel very clearly how my body reacts.
Yeah.
And it can't be. And first of all, there's discomfort and like, ooh, and then there's like militancy or rebellious frequency. And then, of course, everything's leading to this integration of polarities. So you look at it and go, okay, wait a minute, that's a gift. It was, and so you have to go through these motions of finding that 0 point. It's really,
Yes.
but yeah, I get what you're saying, and what you said too about the obligation. So this is another example. Like I had sent. I told you or before the show that how I had to send all these messages, these emails out, and I just wanted to be upfront and direct. This is what we're looking for, and there was several people they wrote back and they said, yeah, but this is, da, 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 da. And I said, well, we're not in alignment with that.
Right.
And today, so you have those misgivings. You go, okay, was I too mean? Am I an asshole? Whatever. And, but one of the first messages I saw today on my email was somebody that wrote back and said, uh, I get that. And I really respect, uh, you know, your response. And I was like, oh, cool. See, so like, how are we going to develop that, which I was fruitlessly trying to describe, that, like, say, that new type of communication that's somewhere between telepathy and where we've been, if we don't do it? Like, if we don't, if I serve what I think is an obligation and I can't move past that, now that's not a failure, if I can't, but if I can't do it, then I'm never going to find out what happens when I don't do it, right? When I don't serve the pattern and the behavior, and I do serve this new understanding that's my body is the center of, then I get that new type of interaction from the mirror, like I did today, and
Yes.
I'm probably going to eat humble pie because I get 3 more later and say you're an asshole. So yeah.
And you
All right.
just move past that and just
Yeah.
keep going.
Well, here's another quick one before we get out of here. So Bruce says that's why I practice non-engagement. I think that's another thing too. I don't think we're going to be allowed to practice non-engagement. I feel that's part of what's happening is, I mean, everyone doesn't have to get on a live and do a show, but I mean, I feel like that we're not meant to, or we're not going to even be allowed to, at some point, stay in our cocoons. We're meant to get out and interact because that's how things get expanded, right? Yeah. So it's always good talking to you. We'll have to get Tiny Maldonado on here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw her. She was on here earlier when we first started. Hey, I wish you the best, and for you and yours and your family. And
thank you likewise.
I will be. I'll be saying. I'll be saying rosaries. What do you call it? Yeah, rosaries and prayers. My rosary for you if you are planning on coming over to visit your family in San Antonio, because I know you'll need it. And
I feel like I am like I already kind of got the like, you need to go, there's stuff for you to do there, just go on your timeline. Go when you're on, not when other people want or think.
And don't forget to take your just in case you need extra protection, take that Virgin of Guadalupe medallion with you.
Yes.
All right. You take care.
Oh, thank you, Todd.
Yeah, thank you. It's good seeing you. We'll be back in last show of the day, fourth and last show of the day, in 50 minutes with Ryan Melchizedek, or however you pronounce it. You take care. I'll talk to you later.